Hello, everyone. Nice to have you here online. And good morning or afternoon, wherever you are. Happy to see that there are people from all over the world. So, not time is same for everyone. Here in Helsinki, it's 5 o'clock p.m. And happy to have you here, Rocío. Welcome to join us. We wanted to share our stories and tell different kind of stories, how to move on with your life and how to end up doing maybe a different path in your both professional and maybe even individual on your personal life. And that's why we wanted to have this webinar, and we are really happy to have you online. Rocío, would you like to introduce yourself shortly?
Thank you so much. My name is Lucio Perez. I am here in Denver, Colorado in the United States. Very excited to be here with you, Mervi, to talk about insights. And I really want to acknowledge each and every one of you for being here today. The fact that you're here in this webinar really speaks volumes of you. It speaks to the fact that you're a person that wants to go out and get even better things in life, that you're bold, that you're authentic, that you're on fire. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. I'll go ahead and talk about myself. You're wondering, who is this woman from the United States and what does she do? So again, my name is Rocío Perez, and my story started out one day as a little girl. I wanted to become a teacher, and I remember being 5 and 6 years old and running around and telling everybody that would listen, someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to become a teacher. And I was so excited about that, and I would daydream, and I loved school, and I loved learning. There's so many things that I just loved. And yet my reality was very far-fetched from that. I grew up in extreme poverty, extreme abuse of all kinds. And we moved from one place to another. I didn't stay long enough to make friends with people, as we were sometimes moving once a year. Maybe we stayed there a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less. And by the time that I was 12 years old, we had already moved twice to Colorado and back. And I was done with the abuse. I was done with things that were going on in my life. And that was so difficult in that time because I knew that I had a choice and I had one way out. And I remember looking at my grandmother one day just before we moved yet again and back out of state. And I told my grandmother, you need to help me. I was going through some really difficult times with the abuse as it continued to escalate. And I looked at my grandmother the day before we left and I said, you know that they're going to kill me, and I need your help. And her response was, I know. And I said, I need your help. And it was my 16-year-old uncle who also helped me run away the very next day. And then my life began completely different. I had to begin to figure out, what do I do now in my life? And, things were interesting. They were much better, but they weren't perfect at that point in my life. So I spent the next couple of years discovering myself, being in a different environment, going to school, sometimes not going to school. I ditched, here a young teenage girl ditching with her cousin and her uncles, and it wasn't a great environment. And by the time I was 14 years old, my grandparents said, okay, it's time for you to go back home, because it was a lot for them to handle a couple of teenagers. And so they were sending me back home. And so I ran away with my 22-year-old boyfriend. And you would guess it, 2 weeks later, I was pregnant. What can you expect with a 14-year-old, 22-year-old boyfriend? She's pregnant, family doesn't support her, in a different city by myself, figuring out life. And so then life just began. By the time I was 15 years old, not only was I a mother, I was also in this abusive relationship, figuring out life. And I figured I was uneducated, couldn't support my son. I was working menial jobs, and I was knocking. I said, okay, that dream is still there. I want to go to university. And with a 6th grade education, I was knocking on the college's door so that they can let me in. The only way that I can go to college was divorcing my parents, which I did at the age of 15. I divorced my parents so that I could go to university. And it was like, I felt like I went uphill both ways. It was so much work to get to and from school as I was going. getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning after I went to bed at midnight, getting up at 3 a.m., and then making it happen every single day so that I can be in school. And that was to the tune of almost 8 hours a day, dropping off my son in a different city, coming back to university, and going back and forth every single day. And then time just went on. By the time I was 19, I finally left that abusive relationship. My son and I was 19, he was 4 years old. We were homeless, like giving it whatever it took to get to where I wanted to be, because I knew that we would have a more extraordinary life moving forward. And so I continued to go to school. I started mentoring people, working with individuals. When I was 17, I was in management. By the time I was 19, I was helping others discover their dreams. Moving fast forward, I went into university at a different level. I got 2 associates. I got a bachelor's in international business and marketing. And then I did a dual MBA in international business and marketing and went back to school for additional studies in international entrepreneurship. And I have loved the track of watching people. I feel like I've been blessed because this little girl that was running around, dirty face, her books were falling apart, only a dream of saying, this is what I want to do someday in my life, to all of a sudden having everything there for me now. Now I was 30 years old. I was going to university, graduated, life was going great. By the time I was 33, I thought I was on top of the world. I had everything that I ever dreamt of. The car, the house, the kid, I was an empty nester, everything, the business. And then I had a brain tumor. And that was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call to wake up, because prior to that, I was chasing money. I was like, okay, I'm going to go be this copycat. I'm going to go work. Somebody's doing great in marketing. Let me go be that marketer. But yet in reality, it wasn't my dream. It wasn't my passion. And what I discovered in that experience of, hey, you can have a stroke and die any moment, I discovered that there was so much more to live. I discovered that if I was living my passion, I was living my dream, that everything would be worth it. And at that moment, I decided that I would only stay in my lane, which was being a leadership expert, guiding people so that they can achieve the life that they love and desire. And I have accomplished more in my entire life than what I could have ever dreamt of. Being passionate, loving. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I like to say that I have a triple PhD in the School of Hard Knocks, because it was a difficult life track and journey, and everything was worth it. Everything was worth it. The one thing that I love for people to take away is, like, stay focused on the goal. Follow your dream and stay focused on the goal. Give it every ounce of effort, and you will be happy that you have. And Mervi, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, because you've had an extraordinary life, extraordinary experience, and I want to hear about you and your journey.
Oh, I'm pretty much speechless every time I hear your story. But it is really wonderful and empowering story to listen every time. Thank you for sharing that, and we'll get back to that. Short story of like my background in nutshell. I didn't run away from home. Maybe was dreaming about running away when there was bad days, but things weren't that bad for me when I was a kid. I actually went pretty nice. I went to Helsinki School of Economics and graduated from there and started my career, and everything looked really nice, and got married and got 3 children and built house, and then a bigger house because I was thinking that I want houses and I want big houses and space around me, and I thought that that's gonna make me happy. Well, eventually it didn't, but at that point, of course, it did add to my happiness at that point. And I worked really hard. I was still only supporter of my family, basically the only one who worked, and I started doing my job as a project manager when I graduated, and then moved on to be a consultant, and finally ended up being a head of a division in IT company, growing IT company. And then I love my job, and things were looking really good outside, and I was for most part I was enjoying myself too. I was working really hard. I was doing when you said that you woke up at 3 o'clock. I didn't. I woke up after 5, but yes, I have been going to bed maybe around 1, 2. So there were some similarities with your story as well. So every time I woke up with a major headache, which was due to lack of sleep, but I didn't care at that point. I was just thinking that, okay, I'll just take this painkiller and I'll move on with that. And I was able to do that for quite a long time. And I was enjoying that. Like I said, I love my work. I love my team, and we were a growing company. So there was a lot of challenges which I loved, and seeing that hey, we can move forward. And it was awesome times. It was I got to learn a lot, also on professional level. Well, you referred to your abusive relationship. That's also the type of my relationship. So eventually I realized that it has to come to an end. And then it's actually quite different and long story, but I managed to run away on one weekend because I wasn't sure anymore if I can survive alive. So that's the final solution I had to do. I took the kids and left the lovely home that I had built and decorated and loved so much, but realized that hey, it's much more important to survive. So I left and started building. I think I had maybe like we have these Moomin cups here in Finland, so I had all my Moomin cups with me and some clothes and that's basically it, and everything else I just had to purchase and start almost from a zero. And of course it forced me to rethink my life, everything that I want, and also combined with the level of work or the hours that I've been putting into work, the divorce was maybe all that was together was too much. So I ended up leaving my job as a director, and I didn't have a new one, a new job. I hadn't applied for new jobs. I was way too tired to do that. So I was left without nothing, and I was a single mom of my 3 kids at that moment. But all I was able to think at that point was that I need to just get away from this situation and I need to rethink the whole situation and see what I want to do. And then, to be honest, right at that point, there wasn't that many things that actually interested me because I didn't really know what I want to do. And I knew that maybe I want to party or I want to do something that or I want to hang out with my friends, but I really didn't know what I want to do in my life. So that's actually quite hard time in one's life, I'd say, because it is basically living with, of course, I had my kids, which gives a meaning to a life, but other than that, I wasn't sure what I want to do. And I had been dreaming about being an entrepreneur already at the Helsinki School of Economics when I was studying, but it just felt something that I can never actually achieve that it was just too far away from me, and the financial risks are way too big. So I didn't even have a courage to think about it. So I got a new job, but luckily through some coincidences and a couple of things that happened in my life, I ended up being a partner in one startup, in well-being startup, and that's when I actually started finding the joy in my occupational, in my work life again. I liked it, and I realized that hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be involved with people feeling better, and help people feel better. And I was there for 2 years. At the same time, I founded 2 my own companies. The other was a gym, and then the other one was actually a lawyer company. And then finally ended up leaving that company to found Auntie, which is the company that I'm working for now. And then the moment I got the idea of Auntie, I realized that this is I think that's maybe the biggest step in my well-being, also realizing, hey, now I found something that I actually need to do and want to do, and a place where I can combine everything that I know and still learn more, but and I will be helping others to feel better, and maybe to prevent others from not getting a burnout. And that was a big thing. Of course, it didn't. My like how I felt about things went too much better. But I wish I could say that it was an easy path from there, but that wasn't the case either, because like I said, I had 2 companies that I already founded. The other one just didn't take off, so it just buried the lawyer company. But the other one I already had, the gym company, was actually, as we all know, that the gym industry is quite investment intensive, so you have to put a lot of money there, and eventually after 2.5 years, because I was doing it with my current spouse, and we ended up also getting a divorce, or separating, maybe it's a better word for this case, separating. So I ended up being by myself there, and I never had an intention to run 2 companies by myself. So it was supposed. I was thinking the actual plan was that my spouse is taking care of the gym, and I'm taking care of Auntie. But then after we getting separated, I ended up being alone in both of them, which was draining and exhausting. And eventually it led to a decision that I have to file for bankruptcy for the gym. And that was 4 years ago, a bit less than 4 years ago. And that was awful. That was really tough lesson, because I think it's quite often when entrepreneurs have to file for bankruptcy, they start finding out that this is not going to be for free, that there are some contracts that has my signature in it, and I will be paying for maybe many years. And that was also the case in my company. So it was really dark time. I realized quite soon, though, that it's something that I need to go through, that it's maybe I learn more here than I learned in Helsinki School of Economics in my master's degree. But of course, then you have to pay for the learning. And it was different kind of time, hard, and I think I wasn't prepared for that either, because I already thought that, hey, I went to see this. I went with this low, getting a burnout in the IT company where I worked, that, hey, things are going to get better. But I didn't know how long it's going to take until they are better. But that was 4 years ago. And after many different kind of things happening around it, I think maybe it took longer than I expected. I think now when I look back, it took me like 2 years to get back on my feet after that, because there was so many things going on around it, and you have to take care of so many things, and at the same time, Auntie was just a small company, just like basically not having revenues at that time, so that didn't make things easier. And at the same time, I'm dealing with the bankruptcy, which could be like full-time job. I had to, or I wanted to be involved and put my effort in Auntie at the same time. But that's basically a lesson that I needed, and a lesson that I appreciate now. It's easier to say now 4 years ago, and it helped me to learn a lot of new things.
And I think, Mervi, that's the hardest thing, right? That when we're stuck right there, when we're facing moments of decision, having to do whatever it takes, right? Having to do whatever it takes. And school could never prepare us. I have, like I said, a dual MBA. I have, bachelor's. I have all this experience, yet nothing could have ever taught me for those moments where you go against the wall and now you have to make a decision. And where do I go? Where do you find that strength? And that's probably one of the greatest questions right there. I'm going to ask you, where do you find the strength in that moment? Now, You divorce, bankruptcy, business failing, you're getting up and saying, hey, this is going to happen because I choose. I decided. And you have to be bold and you have to be authentic, right? In those moments of having conversation with people in your life that, hey, maybe things aren't going so well, but where do I go from here now? I've had those moments right there, especially when I was faced with the brain tumor. I was running two companies. I was about to launch a product in one of my companies, and that changed the entire course of my life. What do I do here now? So when there's people in our shoes, because we're not the only ones, and I could say that the vast majority of entrepreneurs, it is failure after failure after failure until we find our niche, until we find what really touches, moves, and inspires us and what works. Because sometimes we're not who we're supposed to be just yet. We're always in the process of becoming. What would you say to that new entrepreneur who is going in for it and may have a plan and may be having difficult times in making things happen?
Well, always make plan B. I think that's a good choice too. And I think be prepared for things changing. And like it's maybe the thing that you want to do is something that it's a good start, but maybe it's not the thing that you end up doing in a year. Or with maybe we call it just pivoting in companies. That hey, you have to be open to new suggestions. At least based on my experience, I started talking to as many people as I could. When I got this idea of Auntie, I started having coffees with or breakfast or lunches, basically with anyone. Anywhere and telling them, hey, this is what I want to do, and the response, of course, there was also, like you said, it's hardly ever just a
It's not
full of
straight
yes.
line, is it? Right,
What's
and
that?
it's not easy. It's not a straight line to success, nor is it
By
easy.
no means, it's no straight line, and that's why you need everyone around. And I think what you mentioned also to get support from others. Like at least I had a list of things that I do when I get depressed. I had to do that list quite often, and there was like I had a circle of friends who I knew that always would bring me up. That hey, this is not working, and they said it will be, and I know that I knew that I could count on them. I had a list of music that I wanted to listen when things were really bad. And the last on my list was to go to sleep. If nothing else helps, go to sleep, sleep over the night, and most likely things don't look that bad in the morning no more. But I had to remind myself, because of course, especially when you're full of energy at the beginning, maybe you tend to just work longer and longer without realizing that maybe is not the case. Or how did you see in your points when you said you had two companies that you were running? How did you manage?
Not a pretty sight, not a pretty sight. It was a long, long days. I was in bed maybe at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I was at the gym. I wasn't even up. I was at the gym at 5 a.m. and in my office at midnight. And at the very tail end of that, where I was having someone pick me up at midnight. If you can only imagine midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, saying, this is probably not the best thing. I've learned so many things along the way. And I love the fact that you talk about mindfulness. You have your list on how to get yourself back into alignment. That is probably one of the best things that any one of us can do. I learned how to become selfish. And I'm probably a very, very selfish person in the sense of selfish as taking care of me. I take care of me. Get up in the morning, whether I work out or meditate. I meditate before I even get out of bed. Meditate. And then go exercise, whether it's a walk, whether it's journaling, whether it's having a nice meal, whatever that is, before the day comes in. Because once I open the door, I have no idea what's going to happen. I leave my home. I have no idea what's going to happen for the rest of the day. I have no idea even what time I'll get home. Because sometimes I can go from 40, 50 meetings and events a day. I'm on the stage, I'm here, I'm in meetings, I'm in consulting, I'm at events, whatever that may be. So getting anchored, getting focused, looking and keeping our why. I think that's one of the most important things on there, Mervi, to make sure that we keep our why top of mind. What is our, why are you even doing this? Why are you putting yourself through all of this? And then setting yourself on fire. We talk about setting ourselves on fire. Here's my favorite quote, and then I'm going to turn it back over to you in just a moment, Mervi, to look on that success is not a result of spontaneous combustion. You must set yourself on fire, and that's by Arnold H. Glasow. And then to look at it that we need to be the ones to inspire ourselves every single day, especially when it's not going well. Now you say, get up, go for a walk, go through your list, find out who to connect with, and I get you right there, Mervi, too. Like when everything doesn't work, I just go to sleep, okay? I go take that nap, I go take that break for a moment and just reset because it's so important to reset.
Yeah, it's funny how you talk about the routines in morning. I prefer doing meditation too, if a mindfulness practice before getting up, if it's possible. And also, especially those hard times, it was so important for me to make my bed every morning. I think I got it. It's also like something that I must do. I can't leave home, and I think it serves a purpose. It gives you well, a sense of accomplishment to begin with. Hey, at least I made my bed and I got out of bed. I didn't stay here and start moving and I start going out there. And even if everything went to the wrong direction during the day, at least I had my bed made when I got back home, which is nicer than not having your bed made.
Right. And it's those small things, and we don't take it into consideration because it's the small things that we do every day that take us to success.
Yeah.
And it's making your bed, doing your coffee, getting, even getting dressed, I think makes a huge impact. I'm going to share this image that I saw on LinkedIn on a video where there's this little kid who's in the water. He's in a swimming pool, and he's like has this big old rope, and he's hanging onto the rope, and he's struggling, and he's crying, and mom is looking for him, and she comes to help him out. She stands him up, and he realizes that the water is up to his chest. Like he could have stood up. That's what we do when we panic, right? That's what we do when we lose control over the basics of getting ourselves aligned every day because so much comes at us. Let's get aligned in the morning. Let's take that time to take care of self every morning.
Yeah, and one other thing, maybe because I think things always happen like maybe 7 times slower than you wish they could. Of course, sometimes some things go fast,
Right.
but in general, when you think that, hey, I'm gonna have this and this and do this and these things at the beginning, things just go slowly. They you don't get as many customers as you wish. You don't get to have so many customer meetings that you wish, and that maybe the development of the service or product doesn't proceed as much as you would like to. So I think one of the I read a article once about what's the difference between those who make it through and those who are trying or don't even try. Of course, trying is the first thing, but then second is how do you endure the boredom? Because you have to do it so many times. You have to, like I said, I was sitting with basically anyone who is just could tell me something that, hey, how this is how you run a business, this is how I've done it, this is how I failed, and it was like maybe 4 months, but nothing basically happened. But of course, lots happened in my mind, and I got the service design in my mind better. But things you just have to repeat and do it all over and over again, and you have to endure the boredom, and that's when you start getting results. It's not an action that just happens by accident or out of a blue comes to you.
Right. And success literally is it's a road, and it may be like we said, it's not a straight road. You may think that you go this way and you go that way and you go this way, and then you actually come back to step 1 and you go to step 20 and back over to 30 and back over to 10, and whatever that may mean on it. The greatest thing that I've learned is that failure is part of success. And we're always 2 millimeters. Would you agree with that, Mervi? That we're always 2 millimeters away from success, right? It's those subtle tweaks that we don't even know. We don't even know how close we are to what we desire until we attempt that thing and say, wow, that was so easy. I was so close to it. And maybe I was trying the things over and over again. I was trying what somebody else said, yet they didn't have a bigger picture vision like I do. I'm in the business every single day, and I know where I'm going. That's why it's important for us to create our roadmap. And it's also important, in addition to gathering information, because we all gather information. It's to decipher through the information. How does it serve me? Does this apply to me in my industry? Does this apply to me with what I'm doing right now? Even the time of the year, even the time of the day makes a difference depending on the business that we're doing. You don't want to be selling coffee at 10 o'clock at night when there are no customers, right? It really depends. What would you say, Mervi, what else would you say that's important for other individuals to gain insights on?
Other than, of course, like the maybe this is this maybe pretty much the same thing, maybe from another angle is to keep moving. Whatever it is, like don't get stuck. Don't get stuck on people. Don't get stuck on those who put you down, because there are people maybe for a good reason or bad reason who saying that they maybe this doesn't work out. And then, like, if I think about the gym that I had, all those people who said that it's not going to work out, they were right. Maybe they were just trying not push me down, but talk sense to me, and I didn't listen, but I had to do that mistake or those mistakes myself. But either way, you have to keep walking, especially when it's hard. I think that's maybe the thing that helped me through, or the thought that helped me through the darkest days, is that when it is dark, you don't have to. It's not a good idea to stop. You don't want to stop at the dark. When you are at the dark place, you have to keep walking. And or maybe running. If you can't run, then walk, and if you can't walk, you crawl, but you move forward. Whatever it takes, you move forward. Every day you move forward, and maybe it's like this much, and it doesn't feel nothing on that day, but then maybe after a week or after a month, you'll get to take a bigger step, and then you realize that to take that bigger step, you needed those smaller ones in between or before that.
And getting unstuck is one of those important things. You talked about that, right? How do you get yourself unstuck in those moments? Because sometimes we can't see it. For me, it's having a coach. Like, I'm a coach, yet I have a coach because of that. Because I want to make sure there are moments right there that I am stuck. How do I move to that next level? How do I see beyond where I am right here, right now in this moment, and make it happen? And how do I fill my own gaps? How do I know what's missing within me where I can start that whole level of awareness? What am I not aware of that if I was to be aware of right now would completely change the course of my life and what I'm doing right now in this moment? And how do I fill those gaps and be willing to get feedback? Because I think that's one of the greatest things, that sometimes when we don't listen to the feedback, that's when we're going up against the wall, right? Because client is saying, hey, I'm not listening, I can't hear you, maybe that's not the right product, maybe it's not the right time. And when we don't listen, that's where difficulty comes in. What else would you say?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's something that we all need to do. Actually, I was thinking about this, choosing your battles. I think that's also been an important thing for myself, because otherwise it would be so much easier to get stuck on things, and also on people. We tend to, maybe we have we tend to get stuck on if somebody says something wrong to us, and we just stay up all night and think about that. And of course, that's also, we are humans, so we are not immune to anything like that. But maybe that the faster we recover from those kind of situations, I think that helps us a lot to when moving forward. What is your experience on situations like that?
I love it. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that. Here's a quote that I saw on LinkedIn. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, and unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. So I definitely agree. In moving forward, is find a way, find something that helps you, whether it's having conversations with a friend. And most importantly, how do I move? Because there's the body has memory. You know, if we got stressed out and we're sitting in a certain way, every time we sit in that way, we're going to get stressed out because our body memorizes things. And that's one of the things that I see a lot of. The other thing is, what do we tell ourselves? What do we tell ourselves? What is the inner conversation inside of us? Because a lot of the time we are rocking it, we're having a great time, and then all of a sudden things start going downhill. You know, maybe we start hearing doubt. People are doubting that our project's going to work out. Maybe we even start having doubt. Like the only person that is the most important in any project that we're doing is ourselves. What do we think about ourselves? So I've got this is one of my favorite things to say to myself. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, you know, I'm powerful. And even bringing our power back, like I bring my power back, like I own my power back. I bring it back. It's what we tell ourselves. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. I own my power can help us move through and be even more powerful, even in moments. I remember even walking through 30 feet of fire barefoot intentionally. It was what I told myself. It was what I told myself because I saw a lot of people get burned trying to get across. And I saw myself, I'm like, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. I stay focused on my goal. I stay focused on my goal. I stay focused on my goal. And I got to the other end and I was perfectly fine.
Good.
And those are the type of things. My feet are well, you know, I did it 4 times after that too. I'm not
Okay.
sure I learned the first time, but it
You're
wasn't 30
stuck
feet the
on
next
that.
time. You know, what I'd love to chat about to Mervi is like I want to hear what questions people have. You know, what specific questions do you have on here? What do you practice positivity every day? I see that here we have a question here. Do you practice positivity on a daily basis and do you find it effective? Yes, you know, in many, many different ways. And it's every day. It's music. Before I even got on here, music. I put on my favorite song and I start dancing or bouncing up and down. So positivity is something just like showering every day.
I remember once I've shared this because yes, I do the same on daily basis. I try to convince myself, or I convince myself that hey, I can do this, and I'll make it through the day, and I'll be standing on my feet again, and so on. And once when this darkness, like 4 years ago, the darkness has been going on for way too long already, and I was kind of like getting really frustrated, and I'm at it's like this positivity doesn't help me much. Like I could just throw it away that things are not going better, and what do I gain about this positivity and trying to be positive. And actually quite soon after I was doing this talk in my in my head to myself, and I started laughing because I was thinking, well, because I was kind of thinking that because this doesn't work and it's been so long already when I've been trying and nothing good happens actually. And then I realized that hey, I'm gonna die before things are gonna get better. And then I thought, what's gonna be the worst thing then? Like, well, then I die with positive attitude and happiness. So I guess that's better. And luckily, I didn't die at that point. But yes, it's a constant thing. And at least what I found myself really useful is to think that you are the average of the 5 closest person around you. So
Yes.
if there are a lot of like, and you can't beat the average. Unfortunately, you cannot beat the average. So if you hang around with drug addicts, most likely you will end up using drugs as well. And it's really hard to beat the average. And then when I think about the people who has been the most inspiring and most willing and wanting to believe, for example, in what we do in Auntie, they are the people who have achieved a lot in their lives. So they kind of see that, hey, of course, you can do it. I was able to do my stuff and got wherever I am, you are able to do it. But those who hasn't maybe achieved or maybe are unhappy with what they have achieved, maybe that's even unsatisfied with their own achievements, uh, where maybe the ones who say that I don't think that's, you should go back to IT business and work for someone else and do this or that, and that's going to be better. So I think that's a big difference with whom you spend your time with, and of course, even more important than that is how you talk to yourself. And by the way, just feel free to send put the questions in chat. So we are more than happy to answer the questions and hear your comments as well.
So that's beautifully said right there, Mervi. And to look at who's our tribe, who's in our tribe, who are the people that are supporting us every single day, that no matter what, if we fall, they're going to be saying, you've got this, right? Like, what's good about this? You know, even when we fail, people are going to say, what's good about this? Versus like, I told you were going to fail, right? Because we can always have people like that in our background. That really, the people that are going to move us forward are the ones that believe in us, even if it's just in silence, even if it's just to listen to us, to say, hey, keep moving forward. You've got this. You've got I've accomplished, you know, how do I go from a 6th grade education to where I am here today now? And it was because I had those individuals. I had mentors who were 50 years older than I was. And I would just listen. I would over 50, and they were just amazing people, and they would listen to me. I'd come over, and moms and pops, this is what's going on in my life or in the business or in whatever, because I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. And then figuring out there was ups and downs, and they hadn't been entrepreneurs. They didn't know, yet they could support me because they had been very successful individuals in their careers. They could support me in keeping moving forward. Who is your tribe? Who are your mentors? Do you have a coach? And everybody serves a different place, right? A coach helps you expand, and they're going to be honest with you. They're going to help you break through. A mentor may be able to guide you through the process because they've been in the process. A consultant may be able to shed light on what's happening in the business or what's going on there. A champion's going to move you forward. So everybody wears a different hat. For me, have one of each. Have one of each. So that way, that anytime you're stuck, you can go immediately to your coach. There's a problem with the business, you don't know the route, go with somebody else.
Yeah, so, and maybe even more than one of each, if possible. Get as many supporters.
I have like 3 coaches. Yeah. I have 3 coaches alone. Yeah. So we have a question here in the chat, and here it is. You know, I can't see if this is the same person continuing or not, but the new comment. Okay, so here, for me, it is very effective to try to smile when I wake up. I love that. It's what do we tell ourselves right here every morning? Perfect thing, right? It's, are we smiling? Are we being happy? And I can say, as long as I have time, I won't get up out of bed until I'm happy.
Yeah.
Until I tap into happiness.
Yeah, and it's just like our body. Even if we fake smile, which of course, at least here in Finland, we are not too keen on faking smiles because we think that is hypocrite and everything bad. But even if a fake smile, it does make us feel better when we fake the smile. So because our body cannot tell the difference whether you are faking it. It just knows that we are smiling, and it makes us feel better.
Right. And even if we can't smile, I remember there was days on there, Mervi, that I couldn't smile, and things were just going downhill. And this is a great example of making your body smile, and even just a small way, you know, to leave it there and to know that I can do this over and over again and make myself be happy. I know that a lot of people suffer from the imposter syndrome. I did. Okay, I did. I get it completely. And one of the things, that's one of the greatest things that we suffer from is the imposter syndrome. And again, what do we tell ourselves? What's missing? I would write down for me right now, what is missing? Why am I feeling this way, right? And give it to ourselves. For me, it's at times I didn't feel like I was smart enough, or I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't educated enough, or I didn't have enough experience. And I go around and like, I've got this, you know, I'm smart enough, I'm smart enough. Do mirror work. That is something great to do that helps you break that negative self-talk. When we start talking positive to ourselves, look in the mirror and start saying, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, or I am whatever, I am powerful. Find a word after I am that helps you tap into it. I am confident. I love that. I have clients that come to me and they've lost the business, they have cancer, they're on the verge of divorce, things aren't going well. They walk in and in 2 hours they walk out after mirror work and after affirmations. They're on fire. They're on fire.
Yeah, I think that's, I think I've seen some statistics saying that pretty much everyone working in as a director or manager feels imposter syndrome at times. So that's also one good thing. You're not alone. Most likely your colleagues are feeling that. I do believe that women feel even more that, or have that problem more than men. But I think everyone feels it. And just like you said, Rocío, I think the same thing, that hey, you just have to convince yourself that hey, this is what I do, and I know how to do it. And it's like I always keep saying, and at least that what happened to me when I was at the very beginning of Auntie, because I had these good people around me also in the company. I was thinking that okay, these people have faith in me, that they chose, or that they trust in me when it comes to this, so they can't be wrong. Or they're like, even though even if I didn't trust myself, I knew that they trusted me, so it helped me to trust myself more too. And that's, I think
Yes.
that's, even if you are working in a bigger company, you didn't make that position by accident. It wasn't an accident. You were chosen to that position because you knew how to do it, and that's what you have to keep reminding yourself too. We have more questions here.
Most definitely. So here about forcing ourselves to work many hours. Does it feel meaningless, or you're going through some issues? Um, how do we boost our motivation? So here's a way that I do, that I guide my clients through. I'm the author of Unstoppable, How to Become Unstoppable, How to Hijack Your Mind, How to Move Things. We created a product, and that's one of the things that I did to help me and help others. How do we take more courage? And we have the mind shift game. I'm just going to show it here briefly. The mind shift game here to help people be motivated. It's a card game. It's a program designed through a card game that helps people take courageous actions, right? How do I take courageous actions? I have to shift my body. I have to shift my mind. I have to shift what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, what I'm believing. And in that moment, sometimes, how do I keep myself motivated? How do I boost myself? I start doing jumping jacks, plain and simple. I do something physical that gets me out of the situation where I'm at. And I start remembering, what is my why? My why, I have my 30-year-old son, Victor. That's my why. I have my 5-year-old grandson, Emilio. That's my why. My why is to be able to share time and space with them and share experiences and opportunities with them that would not be possible had I not been doing this. And that's part of it. That's part of maintaining the motivation. Sometimes entrepreneurship, sometimes we must put in the hours that are necessary. It's not when it's convenient. It's definitely not a 9 to 5, and it's not convenient because sometimes you have to stay up all night. What would you say?
Well, especially at the beginning, I listened a lot of TED talks. I wanted to maybe on almost like on daily basis. And nowadays I don't maybe do that so much, but I do read books about inspiring people and about their struggle. And I guess that's one way of convincing myself that hey, these were just humans at the beginning, or just ordinary humans like we others are also, and then they were still able to do it, and that helped me. That helped me actually a lot. I've always I've been thinking about it, and maybe that comes maybe from one of the motivational speeches that I was listening, that building a startup, it's like jumping off from a hill, and you have to build a plane on your way down to
Yes.
be able to fly away and not hit the ground. And I think the main thing isn't actually uh, the thing isn't that you have to get the plane, because most likely we won't be able to build a plane while we are falling, free falling from the cliff. But that you have to enjoy the jumping so much that even if you end up in the ground like all your bones broken, you have to say that, hey, this was so much fun that as soon as I get out of hospital, I'm going to go and jump again. And I think that's also, you have to enjoy the thing.
Yes.
And I think that's where you are when you talk about your why, when you find the why, that this is why I do it, then you don't have to question that every day. Like, even because
Yeah.
I was without salary for 2 years at the beginning of Auntie, and then I was trapped with 2 houses, and so I had to, the other one was empty, and the other one I had to pay for because we lived in, so I had to pay for both of them. I wasn't getting any money. I had used all my life savings for the company already, and then like I said, I was along with 3 kids, so it wasn't an easy thing. But I remember every time I got a feedback from a customer, and we had so little amount of customers that I wasn't able to pay myself salary, but every time that we got the, hey, my life changed and now I know what I want to do, and this helped me so much. I knew why I'm doing this. I don't care about the salary. I just like, this is enough. And of course, it's not enough in the long run because you're not supposed to work without salary. But at that point, the feeling of that this is what I need to do and this is what I want to do is so strong that it actually carries you quite a bit.
And it does, and it's fascinating that you say that, because it is at times, and it's in those darkest moments when we keep moving forward. And it reminds me of my little cousin who was on a roller coaster with me, and she was panicking. She was like, she was so scared. I was scared for her too because I thought she was going to fall out of the roller coaster. And when we got out, she was so scared. And I'm thinking, okay, this child is 6 years old. She could either live with fear for the rest of her life, or I can change it here now. And so what we did immediately when we got off the roller coaster, I started jumping up and down, and my friends started jumping up and down, and we're like, oh my God, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. Until she shifted into that was so much fun. To convince ourselves that we must find a phrase that helps us move forward and to stay motivated and to take breaks. I know that it takes work. Yes, it takes work. And yes, it takes hours. Take breaks, because that's where you refresh yourselves. I know that's where I've refreshed myself. Sometimes when I'm in front of the computer, I've been in front of the computer 23 hours and 45 minutes. I've slept 15 minutes. I've taken a shower and gone on to the next presentation. Was that productive? No, no, it wasn't. Sometimes to refresh, to go out for a walk, to watch a movie, to go out to dinner, to hang out with a friend, whatever that means to each of us, it's so important.
Yeah, those little things, they're actually, the little things are the big things in our lives. So there are not so many big things. So if you don't enjoy the free fall, if you don't enjoy the small things, I think it's not a good thing. We should enjoy everyday things that we do.
And who we become in the process of it, would you agree, Mervi, that it's probably one of the greatest things, who we become, because we're not the person who we end up on the other end. I know that I become more bold, I become more authentic. And through my authenticity, I see that a lot more people connect with me. A lot more people want to do business or want to be around me, have conversations with me. And just to be on fire, people are like, wow, like I want to have that energy, like to continue to elevate, find ways to elevate our energy and be passionate. Like truly, if you're not in love with what you do, don't do it.
Yeah, especially, don't become an entrepreneur in that case, because that is something that one needs in between there. And yes, you need good people around you to help you and support you as well. And like you said, I think the relationships have become more and more meaningful, the more open and genuine yourself one is. So that is really rewarding. I think we are running out of time. It's been awesome to see that you've been online, or our listeners have been online, and thank you for all these questions that you sent us. It was definitely a pleasure to have your morning or evening or daytime, wherever you are. And we'd love to connect with you guys in LinkedIn and then in other places. If you feel that there's something that you would like to ask or be in contact, feel free.
Most definitely. I would look for us on LinkedIn. We're here to support you on any step of your journey, wherever you're at, and help you achieve what you love, you desire, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and you will receive the recording to your email, and we can put our email addresses there as well, and the LinkedIn profiles. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you got some takeaways or food for your thoughts from here.
I love it. And I would just say here, add to that, Mervi, do 3 things. Discover 3 things that you take away today and take action on those 3 things, whether it is taking more walks or whether that's really focusing on your why or finding a way to continue to shift your energy, anything. And you know exactly what it is in this moment that you've taken away that's going to help you be even more successful in your life, to be more bold, to be more authentic, and to be completely on fire. We can all be all of that, and we were meant to be that.
Thank you.